Hello, thank you so much for joining me for this episode 4 of Quick 6, where I allow an online random name generator to choose 6 games from my collection that I'm going to give very quick 1-minute reviews for. In a second, my sensible adult is going to press the button and she's going to generate 2 games. And we're going to do that 3 times until we've reviewed the 6 games. So without further ado, let's press the button and see what our first 2 games are. Okay, so the first game is PS4 Nelke and the Legendary Alchemists, which is technically an Atelier game, so that'll be quite interesting. And the second game is an Xbox 360 game, which is Eternal Sonata. So there we go. Let's go brew some potions, I guess. Despite gathering a ton, and I mean a ton, of characters from the previous entries in the series, Nelke feels different. What we have here is basically a resource management and production efficiency puzzle, buried beneath a layer of cutesy visual novel. The combat and JRPG side is reduced to a brief walking sim which can for the most part be played on autopilot. You play as Nelke with the sole purpose of creating a bigger, better town through growth and completing quests. Couple this with the need to level up every character in both friendship and skill, and add the basic town building element, and you're basically playing a game with a very mixed genre, which I think, because of its overly anime paintwork, may have put off a lot of its core audience. If you go into this expecting an Atelier game, you'll likely be disappointed, whereas if you go into it expecting a factory sim where you have to micromanage every single detail, you could enjoy this. I guess to many this seems boring, but I like spreadsheets. The gameplay is addictive for a few hours here and there, probably not for most people, but I'm giving this 7.5. Eternal Sonata is a bright and vibrant JRPG from the 7th generation, releasing in 2007 on the Xbox 360 and a year later on the PS3 by Namco Bandai prior to their name switcheroo to Bandai Namco. Set mainly within the dream world of bedridden and close to death composer Frédéric Chopin, this game has certain parallels with his actual life and plays out over 8 episodes, each represented by one of his works. The game has strong musical ties throughout, ranging from character names to battle systems. Combat is turn-based, but allows a more action feel as a timer gives free reign of movement and attacks for a brief period. Light and darkness play a strong part on the battlefield in changing enemy and magical abilities. This maybe isn't the first RPG I grab off the shelf, and I'm yet to fully complete it, but after roughly a dozen hours I must say I find it quite enjoyable, and the way it's trying in part to teach you about the composer's life is a novel touch. So that's another 7.5 from me. So there we are, that's a totally excellent way from my point of view at least to start this 4th episode of Quick 6, and without further ado my sensible adult is now going to generate us our 3rd and 4th games, and hopefully they'll be as good as these 2 were. Oh, and she does not disappoint this time. So we have, next up, PlayStation 2 The Red Star, which I remember playing quite a while back. I think that was kind of a bit of a hidden gem, to be totally honest. And then Empire of Steel. So, I'll see you on the PS2. The Red Star is a game I stumbled upon many moons ago, and I'm pleased I did. A mashup of beat 'em up and shooter in genre, a little like Secret Commando or Smash TV, but with a light RPG element thrown in for good measure. It's a hard game to place, let alone review. Based on a comic by the same name, set in an alternate Soviet Union, you basically play as a character of the resistance and need to unite the republics of the Red Star by liberating them from a tyrannical dictator. Aside from the slightly muddy PS2 graphics, I must say I found the first 20 minutes a little pedestrian, but after that it became hard to put down. I'm not sure how hidden it is, but it certainly feels like a gem, and the addition of couch co-op makes this an absolute blast to play. This game is cheap and easy to get, and if you're at all interested you could do far worse than grabbing yourself a copy of this absolute banger. I'm giving The Red Star a gold star with 8 out of 10. Empire of Steel is a horizontal shoot-'em-up released in 1992 for the Megadrive. I believe it was titled Steel Empire in other territories. I've always loved this game's steampunk feel and graphics. Set in the 19th century in an alternate reality, it's your job to fight back against a dictator and save the world, yada yada yada. I've never really played this sort of game for the story, so let's get to the making stuff explode bit. You choose between a small nimble aeroplane with tiny rubber bullets and what feels like a massive airship with a huge, by comparison, hitbox and all the grace of a flying brick, albeit with slightly more firepower. Enemies attack from both sides of the screen, and you best be picking up some power-ups if you want to survive and make it past some of the tougher enemies and bosses. From rockfalls to bits that vaguely remind me of that horrible tunnel level in that Battletoads game, Empire of Steel certainly keeps you on your toes. It might not be the best shooter from the 16-bit generation, but it's still great fun today, and a worthy game for any collector or gamer interested in the genre. 7. Yeah, so massively pleased with that. The gods of RNG are certainly smiling on us with this 4th episode of Quick 6. Especially Empire of Steel, a game that actually only came back into my collection quite recently, albeit cart only, a game that I have real fond memories of from back in the day. So, yeah, really decent shooter. So, and yeah, the red star does not disappoint. So my sensible adult is all primed and ready to go to give us the 5th and 6th game for this 4th episode of Quick 6. So go on, let's see what last 2 games we're getting to finish off this episode. We have... Ooh! Okay, that's quite interesting. So that's Sega Master System, Kung Fu Kid, and PS2 Psychonauts. Oh, that's a good game. I've not played that for a while. So, yes, I will see you pulling some moves. I'm going to start this review with a confession. Modern games have made me soft. I'm pretty sure I remember this being one of the easier games I had back in the day. A game I enjoyed but ultimately completed after a little while. Coming back to this 30 years later is an eye-opener to how my skills have deteriorated over the years. So anyway, Kung Fu Kid on the Sega Master System is a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. Much like many arcade games back in the day, this is a lot of fun despite my frustration at clearly sucking at it. You basically run, or for the most part jump, your way to the right, where you'll fight a boss to complete the level. Sadly, this isn't my original copy of the game, but one I bought when I was collecting for the system maybe a decade ago. While it maybe seems somewhat simplistic nowadays, this game is decent fun and a good example of how great games could be back in the old 8-bit days, before many of us became overly concerned about the graphical detail on display. Psychonauts is a 3D action platformer with a truly memorable artistic style that oozes personality, developed by Double Fine Productions, released in 2005 on various platforms. Here I'm playing it on the PS2. Psychonauts is set in a psychic summer camp and you play as Rasputin, a young and eager to learn psychic. I don't want to go too far into the plot as I don't want to delve into spoiler territory. The 3D hub world is an excellent environment to explore, and the sizable cast of misfit characters do an amazing job at making it feel alive and entertaining. While solving the puzzles here, your ultimate goal is to unlock the many Psychonaut levels, where you journey into the mind of another and partake in a vast array of differing colourful adventures to further progress the story. Collecting figments to gain new psi powers as you become ever more entwined in this awesome plot. I completed this game back in the day and absolutely loved it. Here I was only able to play a few hours but thoroughly intend to play through it in its entirety again sometime soon. The original game still feels great today, and Super Pants Gaming is pleased to be giving Psychonauts a 9. Yeah, so there we are, an amazing way to round off an epic episode of Quick 6. I'm so pleased with all the 6 games that came up, no less these 2 at the end. 2 absolute blasts from my past that I absolutely love. You may have noticed that I misspelled Psychonauts, but look into my eyes. I didn't. I'll just hold the case there and you can't see it, and honestly, that never happened. Really. So, yes, let me know in the comments which one of these 6 games would be your favourite game of the episode. And yeah, that just leaves me to say thank you so much for being here, guys. Please hit all the buttons and stuff below. You know what to do. I don't need to tell you because you're awesome. And I've been Soup, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Hello, thank you so much for joining me for this episode 4 of Quick 6, where I allow an online name generator to generate 8 games that we're going to... 8 games! Oh my god, I can't even remember how many games. Yes, it's 6. Why on earth did I say 8? I don't know. Oh god. And breathe.